All right, welcome back. We shift now, even though I try to keep us on policy. We quickly went to politics in 30 seconds, Dominic Carter. But now let's get to the politics of the aftermath of what happened. And I'm going to break it into two parts, the parties and the candidates. Let's start the parties first. I'll play Republican for me here, Andrew, for a second. You can argue that the big winners on Tuesday night were a lot of institutional Republicans. There wasn't the Tea Party wave that we certainly saw 4 years ago, or even 6 years ago. These were more established candidates. To that end, and it seems that Boehner and McConnell have more juice than they had before, even within their ranks. Do you think we see Republicans moving more to the middle now in an attempt to notch some actual accomplishments? Because, hey, if they don't get stuff done, they got very few people to blame. They run the House and the Senate. Or are you going to have the Tea Party folks who say, listen, I bit my tongue. We went along with Roberts in Kansas. We went along with some of these other institutional candidates that we normally would have fought off in primaries. Now it's time for you to deliver. Give me my red meat. Give me my Tea Party policy.
I think that's the split in the Republican Party. We've talked about this split for a long time now, but we're seeing it, and we're going to see it manifest. Mitch McConnell and John Boehner, I sincerely believe, are Republicans who want to get stuff done, want to be responsible. They have enough respect for the institution and for the better interest of the country that they would be willing to make concessions or be more moderate on some key issues. No, and we've had no indication that Tea Partiers have followed that push at any point in the last 4 years. There's really no reason to think that they will
different dynamic, though, Andrew. They run the House and the Senate. They can't blame the Democrats.
But they still have to go back home in 2 years and run for re-election with the threat of a primary because they're in gerrymandered districts in the House where the only competition will be from their to their right.
You don't think the world changed on Tuesday?
I really don't.
All right, now on the Democratic side, you got a lot of angry people. Okay, you got a lot of angry people who say either the president costed for me, or the Democrats, the progressives said, well, you made us shut up basically for 6 years. We were promised immigration reform as an example. Didn't happen. We were good soldiers. We kept quiet. Minimum wage here. What are we waiting for, etc. You're making all these givebacks where, you know what I mean? You got a lot of guys who are angry. You get the sense, Dominic, that they're saying, especially if you look at who won. You got more progressives, of the few Democrats who won. Progressives won more seats, and more of those moderates like the Pryors and the Arkansas and the rest, they're going home. So does the left part of the party say, I'm not going along to get along anymore? Do they cause more troubles for Democrats now, given what happened on Tuesday night?
Good question, but I don't think so. I think that the Democrats are putting this solely on Mr. Obama, on the president. And the fact that because he wasn't on, and I think even he is arguing this point, basically without saying it yesterday at the White House, that because he wasn't on the ballot, the base was not energized. And so I think the president is trying to dismiss the results of yesterday, but I think the party has got a problem. They've got to get it together because right now the Republicans definitely have the upper hand.
So do they, the same question to Andrew, do they move more to the middle now to try and, you know, compromise? They know they're in the minority, right? And that ain't going to change for 2 years.
They should, but the president seems to indicate that he's not changing much of the way he operates based on his news conference yesterday. Now, maybe he's posturing, I don't know.
Yeah.
But it doesn't seem like he's ready to move much himself.
Well, there's another factor to consider here, too. We're focusing on Washington right now. And we just spent the midterm election. We know what the advantages are, the Republicans taking the Senate, that they have control of the House. The real movement on Tuesday may have come on the state level.
Yep.
And I have two maps prepared that I want to show you. The first is of governors across the country. It's B6, Ralph, as we get to it. But this is where the current balance of power is with governors across the country right now. 32 Republican governors in 2 races that are still too close to call. And just the blue states really have reduced in this. And this is where a lot of serious issues have come past on the state level because there's been so much gridlock in Washington. Now take a look at the next one, which is state legislatures. Now, states like New York and New Jersey have 2 chambers like Washington does.
Right.
There are some that have only 1. The red states here, there are 29 of them. Republicans in those states control both chambers of the Assembly and the state Senate, or whatever the case may be. 24 of those states have Republican governors as well, so they can ram through any legislation that they want to. There are another 7 states, including New York, where the legislatures are split between both parties. So there are only 11 states now with Democratic legislatures, and only 7 of those have Democratic governors. The only one in our area is Connecticut. So in the last few years, by the way, some of the issues that we've had go through the state legislature, things like voting rights, gun control, minimum wage, health care with Medicaid and Medicare spending. The actual implementation of all these issues we talk about, the fights in Washington, are playing out on the state level, and that is like 2-to-1 Republican at this point.
But it's not always going to script. Some of those red states, Nebraska, I think even one of them, for example, they voted for a minimum wage hike on Tuesday night here. But you're right. I think that was the underreported thing of Tuesday night. You hit it on the head. It's what happened.
Through a proposition, they voted on the minimum wage. But if it went through the state legislature or the governor, it wouldn't get through or get vetoed.
You're right. Okay, so now it gets to, like I said, it's not right now, everything's shut down. They're only worrying about the presidential, but we're getting there kind of quick. So how much does Hillary Clinton become the go-to answer for basically, I know she's going to try and lie low now for a while, okay, because there's an overexposure concern. But a lot of people are saying, not that she can win, but there's a better chance that she's going to get a challenge from the left flank here because of all these worries and all this pent-up frustration, whether it's Elizabeth Warren or somebody else. She's going to get challenged a lot more, and that's going to make her path to the White House a lot harder here because of the landscape and how much changed on Tuesday.
But I'm not buying this argument that more pressure needs to come from the left. I don't understand that premise. I don't understand what you guys are saying.
See, it's funny. I would argue that there needs to be more pressure from the left. I just don't think there will be.
I think we'll get. This strengthens Hillary Clinton's hand. This plays right into her walking into the White House. The last Democrat, the guy that beat me, huge failure. Here I am. I can negotiate with Republicans. I can get stuff done. I've already shown you when I was United States Senator. And she's not going to play to the left. The party goes left, they're going to lose.
I think both parties underestimate the anger that's out there right now. Everybody's frustrated, but there's an anger out there on the right now, okay? Whether he's right or wrong about Hillary, and I think she will be challenged. On the right, you still got the Ted Cruzes of the world who are throwing Molotov cocktails, right? As soon as the Republican says, let's turn down the heat after the election, he's throwing bombs. And you still got the Rand Pauls, who the heck knows what he's going to say from day to day. But then you've got the Jeb Bushes or the Christies or whatever. How did the Republicans navigate that as they try and get a presidential candidate? They know they want to win the White House. They're sick and tired of being out of the White House. And they know now what it means for the last 8 years, or last 6 years will be 8 years. How do they navigate that range of anger on the right?
I think they have.
With policy.
The question that each of the presidential candidates has to ask is, how much of that anger can I turn into support without playing into the base, without playing into the Tea Party or the group, the evangelical Republicans, or the very far right? Tapping the anger is one little maze to try to navigate, but being able to, the centrist candidates, or the comparatively centrist candidates, Jeb Bush and Chris Christie, who really aren't centrists, but they are compared to other Republicans, they may not be able to get to the place that they need to get the nomination without giving something to that Tea Party group. We've seen that in a lot of elections lately. We saw Mitt Romney do that split.
We're going to see immigration get passed sooner or later. It's in the Republicans' best interest, even within the Democrats, to be able to get some credit for things, get it over and done with, get it done sooner than later, so they don't have to answer the questions in the primary season about what will you do about immigration.
Base doesn't want it.
Base doesn't want it. It's not going to happen.
It's all about that base. All right, when we come back here, guys, thank you very much. We will head to the courtroom where former Baltimore Ravens player Ray Rice facing day 2, and today was the final day of his appeal. We're going to have the case, and we're going to ask our panel, is this all about double jeopardy or not, and where does it go from here? That and a lot more questions after this.